This podcast is for financial professional use only and is not intended for use with the public. Material is for informational purposes only and is not intended to provide tax, legal, or investment advice. The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Ash Brokerage. Welcome to Accumulation to Activation, the podcast that breathes life into your retirement planning strategies. If you're an advisor aiming to elevate your practice, deepen client relationships, and stay ahead of retirement income trends, we'll help you capture the opportunities on your doorstep and increase your impact. Each episode, we'll unpack the forces reshaping our industry, from the $44 trillion generational wealth transfer and the evolution of income planning to behavioral shifts, legislative updates, and breakthrough solutions that redefine financial security. Here are your hosts, Mike McLaughlin and Tim Ash.
Welcome back to Accumulation to Activation, where we talk about accumulating assets and turning it into activation. We want to help advisors and their clients go from employment to enjoyment and improve the probability of success. I'm with my co-host here, Tim Ash, the Chief Executive Officer of Ash Brokerage. My name is Mike McLaughlin. I'm the business line leader for Ash's retirement division. So let me start off with a word game here, Tim. When I say the word longevity, what do you think of?
Well, right away, I have a lot of thoughts on that. How long am I going to live? And I think of longevity as something I go to my parents, and then I go to immediately, how do I plan for that? And what do we need to be prepared for living a long, productive, healthy, hopefully healthy life? So longevity takes me to, I want to be certain myself and my family doesn't outlive their income.
Longevity for me is uncertainty. To your point, we don't know how long we're going to live. We don't know the expenses, all those types of things. And in one of your Friday morning meetings to the entire Ash Brokerage employment base, you had a great line, and this is several years ago, but running out of money is catastrophic, but running out of money with guaranteed income is not as catastrophic. And what a great statement, because we don't know how long we're going to live. Most Americans underestimate their life expectancy by decades. And we have this unknown healthcare cost. And I know that you're passionate about healthcare costs and taking that risk off the table. Maybe we should start there when we talk about longevity.
Yeah, you're right. I recall that conversation, and to our listeners that are here, first of all, thank you for being here. We hope you're enjoying this content, and we want to always be providing you with thought leadership so that you can guide and serve your clients. The conversation of longevity that you also mentioned here, Mike, is, if you run out of assets but don't run out of income, that's a pretty good thing. That's, hey, listen, we don't want to run out of assets, but if we have guaranteed lifetime income streams, pension, Social Security, income from lifetime guaranteed annuities, no matter what the flavor of those is, that's not a bad thing, because people live on paychecks. And that I know this when I enter the retirement world, and I hope that's a long time from now, because I love what I do and I enjoy what I do. And I get a paycheck every 2 weeks, and I'm familiar with K-1s and all of the 1099s, you name it. We get it as a firm. And when you transition from getting that predictable paycheck to saying I'm relying on my assets, that's a moment in time where longevity really hits you right between the eyes. And so be talking about, it's again, our opinion, be talking about how much guaranteed income would you like to see enter into your household. And it doesn't matter if you live to 93, 92, or 104. This is a paycheck that's just going to keep going and continue throughout your lifetime. And if you ask those empowering questions to your clients of what would you like to see happen in your retirement as it relates to predictable paychecks, predictable income, what does it look like to you? Just ask the question.
Yeah, I think it's a great starting point for so many conversations. And I go back to one of my favorite questions that comes from our sales team is asking somebody what their first job was like and how much of that was guaranteed, how much of that was commission, and then how much do you want guaranteed when you go to retirement? Because every day is Saturday when you retire, right? And so we got to plan for that. We've also got to plan for one of the largest risks, which is healthcare, and we can certainly take care of that and take that risk off the table. But let's talk about the inflationary impact to caregivers, things like that.
Yeah, so that's a lot to unpack, and we might need another episode. Uh, Healthcare in retirement is likely the most stressful point for any retiree, and it doesn't matter what their income or net worth looks like. It's just reality. Also, what I've heard this said before: the child that lives furthest away from the parents is the smartest one because they're providing advice to the boots on the ground that are taking care of the parents that are aging. What's your plan? What's your strategy to engage that conversation, not only from the financial point of view, but from the psychological point of view? How are we going to make these decisions for mom and dad? What does care look like and care coordination look like? Um, I've been, and you have been, and most of our viewership here, we've had health insurance, right? Through our employer or through our businesses. When that changes or stops, so when Medicare happens, and Joe Namath is talking to you on cable TV at night about healthcare, what are you going to do? What are the decisions you're going to make? And it's you're getting hit from probably 50 to 100 different angles, and I'm not exaggerating. Your mail, your inbox, text messages. Just when you turn 65, you have to have a plan. So I would say this, and this is advice that we've built a concierge healthcare in retirement team that covers Medicare, Medicare Advantage, long-term care, linked benefit annuity, linked benefit life insurance with long-term care riders. We have over 40 people on our team that just focus on that conversation. And I will say this: the advisor that's going to have the greatest success in the future leads with healthcare, leads with lifetime income, and says, we are going to preserve your assets so that you can make certain they transfer in the manner with which you want them to, whether it's a charity or your family, and not get confiscated by taxes.
Yeah, couple things there. You're right. Both of us have lived that long-term care path. I know with my mom and dad, my brother lived 5 minutes away from the care facility, and I always told him that that exact same line. The person furthest away is always the smartest, and I wasn't going to do that to him. But it's difficult for a caregiver to make those decisions, and sometimes they're difficult decisions about care and making sure that the quality of care. And I always share the story that we used some housing wealth for my mom and dad for a life estate, and we didn't have to talk about money decisions. We were always focused in on what's most important, and that's what's best for mom and dad, basically. So, but from a caregiver standpoint, it can be extremely taxing for sure. So, um, let's talk a little bit. I mean, you bring up some good points there in terms of just medical care. I was reading NPJ journal that was written back in December with some statistics with people aging, and the average American will now have cost of $21,000 per year that have two chronic illnesses. Now, let's face it, there's a lot of people here in the United States that have two chronic illnesses, cardiac disease, arthritis, all those things. The person who doesn't have those, it's only $2,000 a year. That's a huge cost. And I mean, when you're living on a fixed income, that $19,000 difference is huge, plus the inflation impact of that.
Yeah. Inflation in retirement is primarily, the headline is going to say healthcare. And so what I think inside of Ash Brokerage and the advice that we're trying to provide via education, is there a way to construct your portfolio so that you can minimize and or take away the angst and anxiety of these events that are going to occur? They are. If you're, I'm going to be 59, and again, all of my parents are alive, and I'm grateful for that. But here's the other thing too. At 59, and I won't knock on wood here, but I'm healthy. My wife is healthy. We can think of purchasing this insurance, and trust me, and insurance doesn't just mean a long-term care policy. It can mean a variety of things. I mentioned all that, or how do I plan for healthcare? How do I set up a Medicare supplement fund? That's another thing that you should be talking to your clients that are my age. And McGee's older than I am, so he probably needs it more than I do. Just kidding.
I resemble that remark.
He's not older by much. But the point being, be thinking about what are the conversations that you should be having with the different age groups. Because trust me, I have 3 awesome kids. All right. They're amazing. I have 2 grandkids, and they're watching. They're watching the decisions that we make as it relates to grandma and grandpa. And then what does that look like? And hopefully I'm 90, 95 or what have you. But that to me is where advisors should take on that more personal approach, and then allow us to overlay their ideas on how to financially provide for healthcare and how to do all the planning steps that you might not be utilizing today.
Yeah, one of the things you talked about that popped into my mind is the need for the documentation. And I can't tell you how many times I am in with a joint call with a client, and they don't have their healthcare proxies, they don't have their living will, they don't have their power of attorneys in place. Just having that in place takes a lot of angst and takes a lot of pressure off of the caregiver. And what a great way to network with an attorney to give those referrals and reciprocate back, because they all have clients that are 65 that need our concierge service on healthcare as well. This also comes into income planning as well, because the Part B Medicare premium is highly dictated by your modified adjusted income. Many people refer to that as MAGI. But talk a little bit about how expensive that can be for some high wage earners.
The MAGI is something that, as you look across the income demographic of the folks that you're serving, how that comes back, to them as I'm going to call it. We had a prior episode called confiscation, right there. So there's the proverbial no free lunch in any of this, and so it all really just comes down to what look at around put the client in the center of the circle, which all of our advisors, I'm confident they do. But what are the touch points around the circles that should be there? And it shouldn't just be asset allocation and rebalancing and all that. It should be the conversations that are at the bottom of the circle, which are around healthcare, taxation, longevity, and healthcare is what does it, should I do Med Advantage? Should I do a Med Sup? What does PDP look like? Prescription drug plan. Sorry, I don't mean to use acronyms in this, but these are all things that are part of holistic planning. And we hear that a lot, right? Hey, I'm a holistic planner. What does that mean? What does holistic mean to you in your firm? And if you can, and I challenge you with this to say, I'm going to add 2 or 3 more services to what my holistic definition means, and lean on us to help you define that. Because the last time I checked, the way you grow your business is serving others and getting referrals to like-minded people. And that's really what we want to do, is serve others, give you ideas, and have you be what I call referable.
Yeah, great. Just reminded of the laws of stratospheric success from the great parable book, The Go-Giver. Talks about the law of compensation, which is determined by how many people that you help and how well you serve them. And so this is a huge need, and what a better way to, one, from a retention standpoint, so that somebody else doesn't get to your book of business, is to talk about that. But just an unbelievable need that has to be discussed. And if you're not discussing that, you may not be meeting your fiduciary responsibility. And we say that a lot about long-term care. So let's kind of pivot here towards the end of the podcast today and talk about the impact of not just medical insurance, but the impact of long-term care and the propensity of it.
When you say long-term care, most people want to get that care in their home, correct? Oh, yeah. They do not want to be confined to a facility, or they want to be in a place where they have some independence, where they have a feeling of dignity. And so when I think of long-term care, I immediately go to that. Is there a way that we can provide care in a manner that is going to dignify and honor the family? The other part that is, I need help. When you own the proper long-term care coverage that does include home health care, that does include assisted living, you get care coordination benefits. I will tell you that phone call to the insurance companies that have the best care coordination, and I'm talking the best ones, Lincoln National, Nationwide, One America, and we're not doing any of this for advertising or anything. We are just stating fact here. The care coordination benefit, even if you purchase the minimum amount of coverage, is going to be a dividend and an internal rate of return on your time and the families that you serve, unlike any other that you have. So if you take away anything from this, I would ask, what is the amount of care that coordination benefit we can get using some of the assets of our clients, because that feature alone is going to be worth peace of mind for the kids and for our financial services practice. So I probably got off on a tangent there, Mike, and I getting a bit emotional about it because I'm living it. I'm seeing it. So anyway, I'll turn it back over to you.
No, it's interesting because I was on an institutional call just last week, and they're actually building out and leveraging some of the carrier resources on care coordination, and they see that as a huge value add. And when you think about the demographics, where the U.S. population is going to grow by 23%, just simply because we're living older, and the propensity for long-term care, that is an excellent point that doesn't go lightly on anybody, and we certainly both lived. So we're coming up here on time, but let me end it as we always end our podcast with Tim's take, just a 1 to 2 minute summation and maybe something that advisors should be asking their clients when it comes to addressing longevity and some of the risks around longevity.
One question: who in your family, son or daughter, niece or nephew or other, is going to be helping you with care coordination when you need it? And be quiet and just listen. And what does that look like? And what do you want it to look like? And then lastly is, how are we going to fund it and pay for it to be certain that the assets that you want to transfer to those that matter in your life happen? And we want to put a plan in place to do so. So that's probably that's a multiple question statement, questions inside what I just rambled off. But to me, that's what I would be asking every single time to those that you're serving.
I love the second part of that question, Tim. What should it look like? Because that's the gap for everybody, right? And then we can that's how we serve, and that's the value that we can provide. So a great question. And Tim, as always, thank you very much for your time and expertise and passion at the company as well as on this podcast. We appreciate you taking the time to record all of these sessions with me. If you enjoy this conversation, I encourage you to like and subscribe to this podcast. Also, check it out on our different resources on our website at ashbrokerage.com. As always, thank you for listening and good selling.
And thank you. I appreciate you, Mike.
This episode of Accumulation to Activation was produced by Ash Brokerage. For more on the most pressing and critical issues facing financial advisors today, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a colleague. For more resources, visit us at ashbrokerage.com or reach out to our team at 800-589-3000. Let's start a strategic conversation about how you can be more efficient with your retirement income and legacy planning solutions.